파라다이스, 지상 낙원. 세상 사람들은 제가 살고 있는 곳을 흔히 이렇게 표현합니다. 에메랄드빛 바다와 푸르른 산 위로 사시사철 포근한 햇살이 내려앉는 곳. 이곳은 하와이입니다. 2005년 저는 한국을 떠나 하와이로 왔습니다. 24살 처음 만난 하와이는 너무나 아름다웠고 사람들은 더없이 상냥했습니다. 이들과 함께하며 눈부신 자연을 누리자면 짧은 여행으로는 부족했습니다. 저는 이곳에 정착하기로 마음먹었습니다. 그런데 살면서 보니 하와이는 겉으로 드러나는 아름다움 이면에 엄청난 이야기를 품고 있었습니다. 처음 제가 하와이를 여행할 때는 상상도 못했던 이야기들을 말입니다. 지금부터 그 이야기를 들려드리려고 합니다. 하와이에는 현재 7만여 명의 한국인이 살고 있습니다. 한국인이면서 동시에 하와이 사람으로 살아가는 사람들. 왜 이들은 고국을 떠나 낯선 이국 땅에서 살아가고 있는 걸까요? 하와이의 공식 별명은 무지개주, 레인보우 스테이트입니다. 하와이에서는 무지개를 정말 자주 볼 수 있지만 그런 이유 때문만은 아니고요. 다문화, 다민족 사회이기 때문이죠. 백인이건 흑인이건 한국인이건 어떤 인종도 전체의 4분의 1을 넘지 않습니다. 7가지 색이 조화를 이루어 하나의 빛을 내는 무지개처럼 다양한 사람들이 모여 하와이라는 조화로운 세상을 만들고 있는 겁니다. 하와이 생활 15년 차. 저는 그동안 기자로 일하면서 하와이 사회 곳곳에서 당당하고 또 성실하게 살아가는 많은 한국인 이민자들을 만나왔습니다. 그러다 문득 궁금해졌습니다. 우리가 만들어가고 있는 이 역사의 시작에는 누가 있었을까 하고요. 맨 처음 하와이에 온 한국인은 누구이며 언제 어떤 계기로 왔을까요? 역사책 속 하와이에 관한 기록은 1700년대 후반으로 거슬러 올라갑니다. 그로부터 약 100년이 지난 어느 날 촬영된 사진 한 장에 시선이 멈췄습니다. 갓을 쓴 남자들, 치마 저고리를 입은 어린아이들. 1903년 1월 13일은 조선인 102명이 최초로 하와이 땅을 밟은 날입니다. 구한 말, 그들은 어떤 마음으로 무엇을 위해 머나먼 미지의 땅을 향해 떠난 걸까요? 1830년 하와이에서 사탕수수 산업이 성황을 이루면서 농장주들은 세계 각국에서 노동자들을 모집했습니다. 가난하고 척박했던 조선 땅에서도 100명이 넘는 어른과 아이들이 더 나은 미래를 꿈꾸며 인천 제물포항에 모였습니다. 고국을 떠난 지 20여일 만에 이들은 호놀룰루 항에 도착했습니다. 1903년 1월 13일 미주 한인 이민 역사가 시작된 날입니다. 하와이에서 그들은 꿈꾸었던 미래를 만날 수 있었을까요?
나는 4시 30분에 일어나 아침을 먹었다. 새벽 5시 30분부터 오후 4시 30분까지 일했다. 고작 점심시간 30분이 휴식 시간이었다. 내 십장은 독일인이었다. 그는 매우 엄격했다. 일단 일을 시작하면 우리가 담배를 피우는 것이나 허리를 펴는 것도 허용하지 않았다.
I mean, you're basically a wage slave. My grandfather made $18 a month, working 6 days a week. There's a section where you see a lot of the, Korean or other immigrants, and they died really young.
하와이행에 모든 걸 걸었던 그들의 도전은 의미가 있는 것이었을까요?
And so they sort of had a diligence to them. Not all Koreans were diligent. There were some misfits, but by and large, the people were, and they worked hard. There weren't many Koreans at that point, but it was such that it made Korea, people here in Hawaii, aware of Korea. And of course, added to that is as they settled in, they brought their traditions, they brought their culture with them, they brought their foods. And so all these different things sort of added to the dynamics of what Hawaii was all about.
한인 이민자들은 농장에서의 외로운 삶에 서서히 적응해 갔습니다. 가정을 꾸려 정착하기를 꿈꿨지만 마음대로 되지는 않았는데요. 이 사진들은 한인 이민사에서 중요한 의미를 지닙니다. 1903년부터 1905년 일제에 의해 해외 이민이 중단될 때까지 하와이에 온 이민 1세대 대다수는 남성이고 여성은 전체 9%에 불과했습니다. 신부감을 구하는데 애를 먹은 이민자들은 소위 사진 혼인 중매자들을 통해 한국에서 신부감을 구했고 1910년부터 24년까지 하와이에는 이 사진 신부의 물결이 이어져 약 700여 명의 여성이 하와이로 갔습니다. 하지만 이 여성들이 하와이에 와서 만난 신랑은 사진 속의 젊고 멋있는 남자가 아니라 초라한 중년의 남성인 경우가 더 많았습니다.
I know she came to Hawaii when she was 18. She became a picture bride, and she never met my grandfather, and she doesn't know anything about that, and she had no real, as a woman, as a female in Korea, especially if you're an orphan, you have no, status, nothing, so she came, that was her only option,
남편들은 벌써 나이들이 들어서 그야말로 일을 못하고 있는 그런 경우가 많았어요. 그러니까 소위 말해서 가장 노릇을 했어야 했어요. 하고 싶어서 한 게 아니라 했어야 했기 때문에 지금 말하면 억세다고 할 수도 있지만 그렇게 생활을 하신 분들이에요.
낯선 문화, 낯선 땅. 비록 자신은 이국 땅에서 생을 마치는 날까지 차별과 가난의 늪을 벗어나지 못할 것이 뻔하지만 자식들은 사회의 당당한 일원으로 자라기를 원했을 겁니다. 한인 이민자들은 자녀들의 교육에 헌신했습니다.
If you look at the University of Hawaii records, say in the 30s and the 40s, 20s, 30s, and 40s, you see a lot of kids, Korean, second-generation Korean kids, going to school here. And then going on and becoming teachers, becoming physicians, becoming lawyers. And so really going after those important jobs.
하와이 한인 이민자들의 첫 학교는 이민 3년 만인 1906년에 설립됐습니다. 한인들의 기부금과 감리 교단에 의해 설립된 이 학교는 다음에 이승만 박사가 설립하는 한인 기독학원으로 발전했습니다. 이민자들은 곧이어 십시일반 돈을 모아 한글 학교를 세워 자녀들의 국어 교육에도 힘썼는데요. 당장 먹고 살기도 힘든 빠듯한 생활에도 이민자들이 교육에 그토록 열심이었던 데에는 깊은 뜻이 있습니다.
이민이 1905년 6월에 끝나요. 이제 곧 있다가 을사보호조약이라는 걸 우리가 맺잖아요. 그러니까 이제 통탄들을 하면서 결국은 이분들이 느낀 게 백성이 무지몽매하여 나라를 잃게 되었다. 그래서 교육을 해야 된다.
이민 2년 만에 고국에서 들려온 가슴 아픈 소식. 먼 조국 땅의 국권을 되찾기 위해 이민자들은 하나가 됐습니다. 안중근 의사 전기에는 1909년 그가 이토 히로부미 저격 후 재판에 섰을 때 하와이 한인들이 재판 경비를 모아 보낸 기록이 남아있는데요. 사탕수수 농장별로 명시된 한인 남녀 1,600여 명이 모은 기부액은 총 2,916달러, 요즘의 화폐 가치로 약 9천만 원에 이릅니다. 그 후에도 우리나라가 주권을 되찾을 때까지 한인들은 여러 단체를 조직해 거국적으로 움직이는가 하면 사탕수수밭 하루 일당 6, 70센트 중 누구는 10센트, 또 누구는 30센트씩 보태 독립운동 자금을 마련했는데요. 이렇게 모은 독립운동 자금은 세계 곳곳에서 조국 광복을 위해 애쓰던 이들에게 전해졌습니다. 특히 상당수는 미주 본토 동포들이 마련한 돈과 함께 상해 임시정부에 닿아 윤봉길, 이봉창 같은 애국지사의 의거로 이어지기도 했습니다. 이민자들이 뙤약볕 아래에서 고된 노동을 한 대가가 해외 독립운동에 자금처 역할을 했다니 정말 뜻밖이었습니다. 놀라운 건 그뿐이 아닙니다.
1907년 때 벌써 여성 단체를 조직을 합니다. 신명 부인회라는 부인회를 조직해서 활동을 해요.
한국에서 3.1 운동이 거행됐다는 소식에 하와이 곳곳에 흩어져 있던 여성단체들은 대한부인구제회라는 통합된 여성 조직을 결성합니다. 대한부인구제회는 오아웃뿐 아니라 하와이 주요 섬마다 지부가 있었습니다. 그들은 결성 후 첫 사업으로 대한독립선언서 포스터 3,000여 장을 컬러로 제작하고 하와이는 물론 미주 본토 한인들에게 판매해 독립운동 기금을 모았습니다. 만주에서 활동하던 대한독립군에게 800여 달러를 보낸 기록도 남아 있습니다. 김치를 비롯해 한국 음식을 만들어 팔고 공연을 해서 입장료를 거두는 등 온갖 방식으로 대한부인구제회가 독립을 위해 마련한 기금은 기록에 남은 것만도 20만 달러, 지금의 화폐 가치로 무려 44억 원에 이릅니다.
국민회도 있었고 동지회도 있었지만은 그분들은 직접 돈을 마서 한 게 아니라 언제든지 회비를 걷고 특수 후원금을 얻고 해서 했는데 여자들은 나가서 돈을 벌어서 직접 벌어서 이 후원을 했다는 게 아주 특별한 것이죠. 네.
독립 후에도 이 여성 단체들의 활동은 1970년대까지 이어져 홍수나 재해 등 고국에 어려움이 닥칠 때면 십시일반 쌈짓돈을 모아 후원금을 보냈습니다. (100년이) 넘게 이어온 우리 선조들의 땀과 희생, 그 결과로 탄생한 곳이 있습니다. 호놀룰루 마노아 산자락에 위치한 하와이 대학교에 들어서면 눈에 익은 한국식 건물이 반깁니다. 대학 캠퍼스 안에 한국학 연구를 위한 독자적인 건물이 있는 곳은 전 세계에 한국을 제외하고는 여기 하와이 대학교가 유일합니다.
하와이 한인 규모 자체가 이 북미에서 가장 크고 역사가 길고 그런 교육의 필요가 있었기 때문에 그 두 개가 이제 함께 결합이 된 것 같아요. 일정한 규모의 한국학 연구자가 모이면서 이제 한국학 연구소를 설립하는 운동이 시작되고 그래서 1972년도에 한국학 연구소가 출범을 했거든요. 이런 한인 이민의 이 자료와 역사적인 어떤 성과를 이 하와이 대학교 나가서 세계적으로 공유하는 어떤 그런 허브 역할을 할 수 있도록 만들자 이런 생각으로 좀 그런 작업이 진행되고 있습니다.
한국학연구소는 한인 이민사 관련 컬렉션도 다량 소장하고 있는데요. 학자들의 자료도 있지만 이민 후손들이 후세를 위해 기증한 가보나 부모의 유품도 많습니다. 그중 가장 눈에 띄는 것은 역시 태극기입니다. 이 태극기는 장모에게서 물려받았다며 어느 하와이 한인이 기증한 건데요. 세월이 흘러도 색이 바라지 않는 광목천에 한 땀 한 땀. 누가 만든 것인지 기록은 남아있지 않지만 하와이 독립운동의 역사가 고스란히 배어 있습니다. 지난 7달 이민 선조들의 발자취를 더듬으며 저는 새로운 고민이 생겼습니다. 잊어서는 안 될 우리의 역사를, 선조들의 소중한 목소리를 어떻게 하면 더 많은 이들과 나눌 수 있을까 하고 말입니다. 그러다 이 사진을 보게 됐습니다. 처음 취재를 시작할 때 봤던 바로 그 사진입니다. 지금 보니 그는 그저 갓을 쓴 남자가 아니었습니다. 그저 한복을 입은 여자가 아니었습니다. 그녀는 조국을 위해 싸운 사람이고 그는 후세들의 교육에 전념한 사람입니다. 그리고 그들은 지금의 우리를 있게 했습니다.
하와이 선인들은 참 대단한 분이었어요. 스스로 이제 나라 잃은 그 백성으로서의 서름을 딛고 서로 돕고 또 그러면서 스스로 조직하고 또 그 자기 자신을 넘어서서 이제 이 사회 전체를 위해서 뭔가를 해낸 사람들이잖아요.
Well, my grandfather always said, and it came down through my dad, that Koreans never give up. They never have given up, and they never will give up. And so it was stamped within our foreheads, so to speak.
They've always been entrepreneurial, you know, and so they were able to get out of plantation work, which many of them came here initially to do, almost right away and began to build businesses. And so they have that legacy here in Hawaii, which is very proud.
Perfect. And it's the diversity of Hawaii that makes Hawaii so successful. In appreciating and understanding and respecting each of the different cultures, it's just beautiful as far as what the relationships are. And that's why I'm so very, very proud of the Koreans' contribution to the county of Oahu and the state of Hawaii as a whole.
I think that we got to come to a point where, yeah, we are different. That's great. Let's appreciate our differences, religion, gender, sexual orientation, whatever it is, that kind of thing. Otherwise, this anti-Asian, anti-black, anti-whatever, transsexual, anti-this, anti is going to continue to go on until we really deal with it on the level of, what is this about?
Korea, from earliest times on, was producing just masterpieces in art, literature, and it's often forgotten. And so I'm thinking, I'm hoping that if Korean kids in particular, but basically everybody, if they can understand their past and understand their history, then they can stand up to this. Even if they're being attacked, they can know that they can fight back, that this is not right. So my answer is empowerment. Study history and be empowered. Know your roots, know how strong your traditions are, and defend them.
1903년 하와이에 도착한 한인 이민자 102명. 저는 이제 그들 개개인의 삶 속으로 더 깊숙이 들어가 보려 합니다. 이민 1세대 직계 자손들을 만나 잊혀져가는 역사 속 선조들의 목소리를 찾고 그들의 지혜를 기록하며 우리가 다음 세대를 위해 만들어가야 할 미래를 함께 고민해보고 싶습니다. 하와이 하면 뭐가 생각나시나요?
We should always love people, We should always love them, and we should really get out of just wanting to satisfy ourselves only, We have to take care of ourselves. We have to feed ourselves and stuff like that. But I think we always have to think about love for humanity, to help out people and stuff, I think that's really important.
하와이의 평화로운 주말 아침. 숲과 나무의 향이 가득한 곳에 왔습니다. 하와이 하면 누구나 바다를 먼저 떠올리는데요. 바다가 하와이 풍경의 전부가 아니라는 사실을 일깨워주는 것입니다.
저기 보이는 산이 코올라우 마운틴이에요. 정말 아름답죠? 저 산맥의 영향인 것 같은데 여기 비가 정말 자주 내려서 공기 중에 어떤 이런 싱그러운 향이 배어 있어요.
호놀룰루시가 운영하는 5수목원 가운데 최대 규모인 이곳은 오아우섬 카네오에라는 동네에 위치해 있습니다. 호오말루히야. 발음하기도 힘든 이 수목원의 이름은 하와이 말로 평화와 고요를 의미합니다. 머리가 복잡할 때면 저는 이곳에 와서 자주 숨을 고르곤 합니다. 하지만 오늘은 다른 이유가 있어서 왔습니다. 하와이 한인 이민 선조들의 목소리를 만나는 시간. 무지개 나라의 유산 그 첫 번째 주인공은 작가 게리 박입니다. 한인 3세인 게리 박 작가는 현대 하와이 아시아 문학 대표 작가로 하와이 대학에서 영문학을 가르쳤습니다. 또 다큐멘터리 감독이기도 하며 인권 운동가로서 다양한 활동에 참여하고 있습니다.
I live in Kaneohe. I've lived here most of my life, and I just love this area. When I was a kid, I used to come up here and with my friends, we used to go camping, swim in the ponds. It was before this became a park. My name is Gary Yonggi Pak. I'm a third generation Korean American. I'm a local person, I guess, because I was born and raised in the islands. My grandparents all came from the northern provinces in Korea. The joy, of course, my life, is my family, and then my 3 kids, and then also I have 2 grandchildren, and I love them, and they're my most favorite people in the world.
I'm sure you having Korean grandparents kind of helped you or formed you become a writer. Is that right?
So I was pretty much raised by only my maternal grandmother.
What's her name you said?
Im Ok-sun.
Oksun. So that's your mom's side.
My mom's mother. She used to tell us all these stories, She spoke Korean, of course, and then broken English. And I spoke mostly English and broken Korean. and somehow we communicated. And she would tell me stories about growing up in Korea and these kinds of things, and her rendition of Korean history and stuff. And so I got those ideas, and I never visited Korea until the first time I visited was 2002. In August, I was awarded a Fulbright, and so I went to Korea University, and I spent the semester there, and it was the first time to be in Korea, land of my ancestors, and every day was a learning experience. I would just walk the alleys, the Kolmok, and just walk, and every little thing smells, every visual, everything was stimulating me. And so I just, I took a diary. I was keeping a daily a diary at that time. I put together a collection of essays about my impressions as a third generation Korean, going to Korea, going to my ancestral homeland, and just experiencing what I could experience.
Was there any emotional or sentimental moment that while you were in Korea?
Oh, I had many emotional sentiments, actually.
If you could share one of them.
One time I hiked, I think Sorak-san, and there was a little shrine up in the top, and it was foggy, and I went to the shrine, and at the very top, the summit, and all of a sudden, I had all these images of my maternal grandma, my Wei Halmani, and I just broke down. I don't know, I just started crying. It was like, that's one of the most emotional kind of times I've ever had. And like I said, I'm not going to write about it. I'm saying this right now on camera and to you and stuff like that.
Is it because you feel like you're not ready yet, or like you will get too emotionally attached to the?
It's just that if I was to try to write about this, I don't think I'll be accurate. Because I just couldn't write enough. Write it in a depth that I should. It's like, for example, can you explain what Han is? Han is this kind of historical thing that I knew my grandmother felt. She had a lot of hardships in her life. She's from Gyeonggi-do, and her parents, she was orphaned when she was 4 years old, and her parents, my great-grandparents, they were executed by the Japanese. The story is that they were, teachers, they were educated, and I guess they maybe spoke out against that time. This is when the before the annexation, and they were the story is that they were executed. They were killed by the Japanese the soldiers and stuff. And so she was an orphan at 4 years old, and so she was raised in a Christian orphanage. And then when she was I think 16 or 17. I know she came to Hawaii when she was 18. She became a picture bride, and she never met my grandfather, and she doesn't know anything about that. And she had no real, as a woman, as a female in Korea, especially if you're an orphan, you have no, status, nothing. So she came. That was her only option, and of course, then she was my grandfather. She raised 12 children and tons of grandchildren. And so I just felt, and then also understanding Korean history and stuff, and I just felt a real, tightness, when I somehow I just had these, on the top of Soroksan, I just had these images of my grandmother, my maternal grandma, my Wehalnani, and I just broke down. And so that's one of the most emotional kind of times I've ever had. I think the bottom line was just that the kind of love she gave me, and the trust, and just the grandparents, the sacrifice, and that's almost like a too worn phrase, how grandparents, they sacrifice and stuff, but they did, When I met my sister for the first time, I have a half sister in Korea, first time, and the phrase that she told me was, of course, Korean, they have this word, sarang, love. But she said, there's a deeper love, she told me, and, in her Korean, and I was trying to, and it's sojung, sojunghe, this preciousness, this deeper love, that you have. And I feel this, and I think it's something that my grandparents, shared with me. Being born and raised in Hawaii, it is hard not to be affected by the breeding of the land and sea. I grew up in a household that nurtured me on Korean, Asian, Hawaiian, and American values all at the same time. Today, the Academy might say that this is an example of the multicultural hybridity that is inherent in American, perhaps global culture. I never saw it that way. And even now, it is hard for me to define the way I was brought up if I'm to describe it in contemporary academic terms. It would sound as if my life was culturally separated, divided into disparate, perhaps disruptive factions. Better simply stated, my culture is what it is, a product of the many crisscrossings of various cultures in Hawaii, a working out of the differences and similarities between the indigenous culture and the many others that invaded or were introduced here. So I wrote this because, you had these questions about identity, and I think identity is, sometimes it's kind of a rigid kind of a way of looking at things. I think a better way to look at for myself, and what I'm trying to explain here, is that I have many identities, if you want to call it identities, and I just like to think that this is just the way it is.
In a few words, can you say what was the Plantation Children about?
Plantation Children was a project I did, an oral history project. And what it is was I interviewed 20 plus second generation Koreans in Hawaii. I asked them questions about their lives and stuff, and a lot of these people were just everyday people, and with the hope of preserving their history of growing up on a plantation, because a lot of them were raised on a plantation. They had Korean parents, came from Korea, from the old country, and just wanted to preserve their history so that the next generations could understand that, could really feel that that's part of their history too. A lot of oral histories, that we have, so-called oral histories and stuff, in history books, they're written about, the rich people, people in power, politicians, this and that kind of thing. And they don't really talk about the common people, the everyday people. And it's really the everyday people that are bringing up in the base of society, right? You know, they're the ones who do all the work and stuff, you know. And so it's so important for us to understand, you know, their lives. And their lives are really interesting.
And also, going to the next subject, I wanted to ask you, Dr. Park, the you know, anti-Asian hate crime is increasing nowadays, sadly. And like, what should I tell my kids? You know, when we watch the news, there's this anti-Asian hate crime.
I think, you know, for one thing, it's always been here. You know, right now it's getting popularized and stuff like that. I think one of the things to try to defeat this, and it's an ongoing thing, this kind of racism, this kind of this really bad, you know, air, you know, when people start doing stuff like that, is to understand history, understand what happened in the past. And they want to kind of promote, oh, you're different than me, and you know, and therefore you should be treated differently and stuff like that. I think that we got to come to a point where, yeah, we are different. That's great. You know, let's appreciate our differences, religion, you know, gender, sexual orientation, whatever it is, you know, that kind of thing. Otherwise, this anti-Asian, anti-black, anti-whatever, transsexual, anti-this, anti is going to continue to go on until we really deal with it on the level of, you know, what is this about, you know?
And do you believe there's something that literature can do about that?
I think culture is such an important part, you know. As a retired professor, I gotta say this, that a lot of students don't like to read now. You know, I think they like, you know, they play with their phones and stuff, and maybe I'm prejudiced like that. But I think cultural aspects are really important. You know, film, for example, is really a big thing, music and stuff. And I think literature does. You know, you need that written word to write a script, to make a film, or you need the lyrics for a song and stuff like that. I think culture is such a powerful thing right now, you know, so we can create this good public opinion, this education and stuff, to transform the world, to change it.
You know, I wanted to ask you if there's like a words of wisdom that you want to pass it on to the next generation. What would that be?
I remember growing up, and I could go to any one of my cousin's house or uncles and aunties like that, and I could just sit down there and we can eat, you know, and just eat to our heart's content, you know. And I think that's the whole thing of food and love. That's a really important thing.
What if you don't have a family? You know, some people are not fortunate enough to have a good family when you're born or when you grow up. What would you say to those people?
Well, I think that we should always love people, you know. We should always love them, and we should really get out of just wanting to satisfy ourselves only, you know. We have to take care of ourselves, we have to feed ourselves and stuff like that. But I think we always have to think about the love for humanity, you know, to help out people and stuff, you know. I think that's really important.
I agree. And like by reading your short stories and what you do with Kokwa, Hawaii, or Plantation Children, I could see that, you know, the fundamental ideas that you have, you know, loving other people and golden rule, basically. Thank you so much for sharing your ideas and all that.
Thank you for asking. When my first son was born, I remember coming home and looking, you know, going to bed. My wife was in the hospital with the son, and all of a sudden I said, wow, I'm a father, and I got this responsibility. And I just thought about that. I just thought that it was such an important thing that, because for me it was a struggle to, you know, feel when I was growing up, you know, is this really my culture, or is this that, and so on like that. And so I wanted to create stories that, you know, that not only he, but also, like I say, his later siblings, and also his friends and so on, the next generations and such, to be able to see that you know, these stories are their own, that his own and their own, that they could be happy and proud of and such, you know. And I'm not saying that my stories are going to be exactly that, but at least set the stage for it, or at least be part of it, contribute to this ongoing creation, synthesis of a new culture that would help to, you know, help people to envision another way of looking at things in the world. So here's another section I like in the preface to my book, The Language of the Geckos and Other Stories. There are so many positive stories to be told about life in Hawaii. So many stories and traditions of Hawaii that are not being recorded. Now I am determined to write stories that will not only reach out to my son, but also to create stories that will be a part of a culture that he can claim as rightfully his. Something that no one can take away from him, that no one can usurp from him and thus deny his existence to be proud, to be his own. So I began writing my stories, stories that he can call his own, stories that his future siblings and hopefully his friends can call theirs. I want him to be given the opportunity to grow intellectually, physically, culturally, sexually, socially, and perhaps most importantly, spiritually, as much as possible on his own terms.
You know, when you know that your son or the future generation is gonna read your stories, like what do you try to deliver through your stories?
I hope that my stories can be enjoyed by people, and they can be entertained, and they go, you know, hopefully, as I think all writers, artists, musicians, they hope that their work is a source of inspiration, that people can inspire, on the bottom line, they just enjoy it. And I think that if that happens, I'll be happy. I'll be very happy. I think that if they can find more meaning from it, you know, from a meaning that's going to help them understand the world better, perhaps, well, even better yet.
Don't ever let anybody make you be ashamed of who you are, whether it be of what you have, or what color you have, or what religion you have, or anything.
신종 코로나 바이러스 때문에 오랜만에 비행기를 탔습니다. 제가 살고 있는 오아후에서 비행기로 40분 정도 걸리는 하와이 섬은 빅 아일랜드라는 별명에 걸맞게 하와이 주요 섬 중 면적이 가장 넓고 또 그만큼 다양한 자연의 얼굴을 만날 수 있는 곳입니다. 지금 이 순간에도 붉은 용암이 들끓고 있는 세계 최대의 활화산이 있는가 하면 생명력이 넘치는 숲과 계단식 폭포, 그리고 커피로 유명한 코나도 바로 이 하와이 섬에 있습니다. 코나가 세계적인 휴양지인데 반해 섬 반대편에 있는 힐로는 주민들이 일상을 일구어가는 곳입니다. 이국적인 하와이 섬의 풍광들을 보고 있자면 과연 이곳이 우리나라와 어떤 관련이 있을까 싶어지는데요. 1903년 하와이 섬에서 사탕수수 산업이 성행하던 시기 보다 나은 삶을 찾아 대한제국을 떠나 이 섬을 찾아온 한국인들이 있습니다. 지금 만나러 가는 해리 김 전 하와이 카운티 시장의 부모도 바로 그 한인 이민 역사의 시작점에 있었습니다.
한 3년 전쯤이었던 것 같은데요. 오아후에서 한 행사장에 오신 시장님을 뵌 적이 있습니다. 그때 시장님이 연설 끝나고 나오셨을 때 제가 한 가지 질문을 드렸어요. 그게 뭐였냐면 한국에서 아주 소중한 친구가 하와이에 온다면 하와이 어디를 보여주고 싶은지 여쭤봤는데요. 그때 시장님이 해주신 이야기가 아주 인상적이었습니다.
Thank you for bringing it up, but if I had that one day with anyone in Korea, truthfully, outside of that, I really want them to see the Koreans' contribution to life, not just for Hawaii Island. Really a contribution in regards to making this a better world because of what you people have done. I could talk to you for a day and a half and a month. You people are special and you don't even know it. And I would spend that day showing them that.
Oh, great. Thank you, sir. 네, 그래서 그때 몇 날 며칠이고 해줄 수 있다고 하신 이야기를 언젠가 기회가 되면 꼭 들어보고 싶다고 생각했는데요. 오늘이 바로 그날입니다. Hey,
good to see
good
you.
to see you.
Thank you. How are
안녕하세요.
you?
안녕하세요.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks so much.
Introduce you to my wife, Bobby.
Oh, hi, Mrs. Kim. Thank you so much for having us.
This is
Oh, thank you for coming. Oh, of course.
granddaughter's dog.
Oh, never
We just
hi.
house sitting.
Oh, I see. And then you put it up here.
The family cleaned it,
I see.
stained it.
Beautiful. So you hug it when you hug it.
Usually.
Nice.
Whenever I need strength,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do
In your strength. Oh, so
It just makes me feel
I
good.
need some strength too.
가난한 이민자스라 8남매의 막내로 태어난 해리 김 전 하와이 카운티 시장은 빅아일랜드 민방위국 수장으로 20여 년에 걸쳐 쌓은 주민들의 신뢰를 바탕으로 지난 2000년 미국 역사상 한국인 최초로 시장직에 올랐습니다. 2020년 12월 그가 삼선 시장으로서의 마지막 임기를 수행하던 날 데이빗 이게 주지사는 지난 36년 공직을 수행한 해리 김 전 시장을 청렴한 공무원의 표본으로 칭하면서 훈장과 감사장을 수여했습니다.
I am Harry Kim. My parents, both of them, were born and raised in Korea. And unfortunately, the reason they came to Hawaii is because of hard times in Korea, whether it be of hardship of economy or war. I have, two sons, one wife from Oregon. I think the most important thing in my life is to have people know that I work to have their trust. The most important thing of possession of anything is things that are for family and to make things good for them. The most end result of when I leave this earth is if I know that I raised or had a part in them being happy people.
It's my honor to meet you, especially in a pandemic. To be able to talk with you in person really is special.
Since you bring up pandemic, it's 11 o'clock in the morning. I've been on the phone several times since 5 this morning. All of it about the pandemic from various people. The time for working around it and worrying about this or being nice is, I think, way past. We better think about survival and minimize the impact, especially to our children. Anyway, back to the subject.
No, right. Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
I realized that your email address has Hau'oli Manu, which means happy bird in Hawaiian. Why did you have that in your email?
I was born in a place when my nearest neighbor, for the most part, 3 sides were over 3 miles away. So the forest is my friend, and all the creatures of the forest. And the forest of its beauty, of its giving, and that became who I was. If you look at this house, I tell people it's a plain house, but I didn't want to cut these trees, but I made the house, the trees part of my house where I don't feel I'm wasted. What's distracted me is the call of the doves out there. They're very abundant. I have cardinals that came in. I just not too recently befriended 2 Hawaiian ducks, hybrids. And for no reason they came. I came out one morning, the sun was barely shining and and the 2 ducks was there. I named them. My granddaughter named them. Believe it or not, they know their names shortly.
Really, you really communicate with those all the creatures around your house.
Oh, yeah. I don't know anything more important.
I guess you growing up surrounded by nature impacted you, having all this love for the nature, I guess, right?
Yeah, and not to belabor of poverty, but going back to my parents, if we grew up, I think, striving for materialism, I think we would be very unhappy people because we had nothing, right?
First generation of your family are your parents. They came from Korea. Do you know when?
You know, there's very little I know about my parents. When people interview me and the subject comes to, well, what is your greatest regret? Or what would you do differently? Always is the same answer. As a boy growing up, I wish I was better. I wish I was smarter. I wish I was a better thinker. I wish I was smart enough or adult enough to tell them, boy, you're something special, Dad. Yeah. And not even that. Not one time can I remember, not one time, saying thank you. How can I be, right? But I never thought my father worked 7 days a week, come back from working at the plantation in very hard ways, walking to and from work, and he would work in the garden. My mom working the same 7 days a week. I wish the only thing I would turn the clock back is I would talk to them.
How old were you when your father passed away?
15,
Oh,
15,
that
16,
young.
yeah.
And your mom were able to meet
My
your
mom was
grandparents?
able to meet my son. All I know it was, just prior to the annexation. All I know is that somehow, Lord knows how, he went to Busan. And all I know is he came to Hawaii to work in a plantation. 100%, except for small things like fishermen or this and that, of this island was sugar. That was the whole economy.
And then your mom.
My mom
met
stayed
him
home.
here. She met him here.
Yeah, sure.
She came as a picture bride.
Yeah. How I wish I could tell my mom, how did you do it, Mom? How did you give birth to the 8 children? In a home with 1 bedroom, wooden stove at first, kerosene after that. I cannot imagine the pain they must have suffered, the sadness, the responsibility. And when you learn about my oldest sister, which I never met, I'm told that she carried my sister to the plantation hospital, about 6 miles away, on her back, and told that your daughter's dead, carried her right back home. I cannot imagine the agony of that, the strength it takes to carry on, the strength it takes to carry on without self-pity. And not one time when I would hear her and Mrs. Chung and Mrs. Park, her best friends, good friends, talk, never of pity, never. That's where I'm so lucky to be raised by strength.
What kind of mom was she? Was she more gentle than your dad, or was she did she nag a lot?
My mother was the general.
She wore the pants.
Yeah, and everything else. My father was the guy that quietly did things and worked, not making life hard for her by grumbling about this or that. But she was like most, men don't like to admit it, but my mama definitely was the strength of the family, in making us work for tomorrow. So I have sisters, I can see my mom in them, of what they did in their life.
Being a mayor for like 12 years, I wanted to ask you this as well. There must be time that you feel really stressed and you can't just complain to anybody, right?
Oh, I
but
do.
What do you do something? But how do you cope with your stress? Like when you want to feel happier, what do you do?
The hardest job I had was not mayor. The hardest job I had in regards to people, decision making, was 24 years of civil defense.
Well, many remember Harry Kim's deep voice on the radio that would inform people of natural disasters. It was perhaps during this time that he became a local legend.
As lava approached homes, Kim was on the front lines.
All residents in local 90 Street, Malta, off Highway 130, please leave the area due to smoke and fire hazard and the lava flow approaching this area.
With that iconic voice of calm, even in the face of disaster.
And when you have the responsibility of people who depend on government to be there when you need them, that's a hell of a burden. We can never undo damage. That's not our job, although we did follow up and we're still following up. When you know with all you feel that you did your best, with the best information you have, and even if you could Monday night quarterback, turn it back, there's very little you would have changed, except not make it happen, which you cannot change. There will always be criticism. But as long as you know of truth, this is the best you could do. And when you make the decision, I've told people that when training, if you know within yourself, even if you could turn the clock back, you could not have done it different. There is no stress. Believe it or not, there is none.
When you're looking back past maybe 10, 20 years, when were you proud of yourself the most?
The worst eruption I went through was a place called Kalapana-Kaimu, Black Sand Beach. It was a very slow-moving flow. And then there was a time where I had to call the whole community together and say, you are under threat. Gave them a system of, if you're in condition 1, that means you must prepare to leave within 24 hours. And when it came to Kaimu or Black Sand Beach, it was going to be totally buried. I talked to leaders that this whole area is going to be evacuated, that beautiful Black Sand Beach. Person came up to me and said, Harry, I need to ask you a favor. I allowed visitors to come in a controlled area. Can you ask everybody to leave so we can have one time alone at our home?
It's not just a home. People who don't understand loss of property, especially from Oahu or their neighbor islands, the land is something that will never be the same in their lifetime. It takes 200 years to make it look like this.
They would talk to me before that of who built that road, or who planted that coconut tree, or where the Tutu Lipkin man was buried, all family graves, all that kind of things, Born and raised generation after generation. I asked the police to help me, and they thought, Harry, you had 2,000-3,000 people. They're not going to leave. I went on my speaker. For those of you who are visiting, I ask of you to leave the people of heritage of their home alone, to say goodbye. They need to be alone. I'm asking you by certain time to leave. To this day, I felt so joyful about people doing that. They just left. Yeah. And these were strangers, a lot of sightseers from all over, you know, they left.
What was the hardest decision that you had to make?
Oh, there's a lot of things every day. There was this Hawaiian man that, you know, came over and said, Harry, the place was all evacuated. Can I go back to my property and say aloha one more time? I said, of course, and I walked him and there was a stone wall. I said, I'm going to be right here, and you know, when I think it's time for you to go because of the fumes of the lava, you know, you need to go. And you have no doubt they would listen. And he said, okay. And I stayed back and let him be alone. And then his wife came, then a kid came. And I just stayed out of their way. And I felt the greatest of sadness. I wish you could do more. What made me feel good? I've got the picture somewhere. There's a beautiful, beautiful picture of Kaimu. One of the last pictures taken before it was covered. Came to the door a couple of months after. I looked at the picture, it was nice, you know. And she said, look at the back. And like that, it was all handwritten words by various people of saying thank you. And I thought, boy, they lost everything they had in life. And never, you know, will they ever be able to find a replacement of that kind. And they're telling me, a person of government, thank you. And I always use that within myself of why we work. After a while, I had a trailer there, a small trailer. Someone was coming to the trailer almost every day to put flowers inside for me. Yeah. And once in a while, a plate of cookies or something. And I used to just shake my head. Could I do that if my place was being destroyed and worry about the damn government worker? But that's how, you know, you found a bond with each other.
What was the reason that you decided to leave that and run for the mayor?
I didn't decide to run for the mayor, tell you truthfully.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I planned my retirement because I was offered a job some time ago that when I leave, would you consider working for UNESCO, you know, UN, and for different countries. Boy, the opportunity to go help another country, yeah. And I said yes, and so I backed off my retirement to that day. So I think June 30th was my last day of work, and August I left for Honduras. And felt very good about going to a new challenge. And in that time, people started to talk to me, run for mayor. I said, nah. And something very beautiful happened. I remember my son coming home one day, here. They said, Harry, Dad, there's a big group of people sign waving for you. You know, who are they? I said, I don't know. He said, sure, you better go down. And next thing I know, there were ads in the paper, the news radio station. There was this woman I got to tell you about, and don't ask me her name. Somebody said, hey, that's a beautiful song they sang about, you know, you and being mayor. There was some ads in a paper that was funny, but obviously everybody paid it. I had nothing to do with it, nothing.
What was your goal as a mayor?
What I told you, have people trust the government. I promised, them this. I will never make a decision based on politics.
In your campaign, you were committed that you will receive only a certain amount, $10, no more than $10 donation. And do you remember this? This is a rejection letter written by you. Obviously, it was sent to my friend in Honolulu who sent you more than $10 to support you, and you rejected, and then you refunded the money with this letter. Do you remember this?
Of course, I was
$10. Like why did you do that?
I have a best friend. He's Hawaiian. Grew up together. To this day, he's still my best friend. I told him, hey, Solo, I'm going to run for mayor. And he said, hey, when you sell a ticket, don't make it too expensive. I don't have money. And we laughed, He didn't really mean it, but I thought about it. And I thought that's one of the reasons why people distrust money. So I sat down and I did the following. There will be no campaign organization. So I don't care who you are. If you want to help, fine, you do it my way, or thank you. Naturally, everybody thought, is Harry crazy or just stupid? Do you think he has a chance? Obviously, I didn't think I had a chance. But that's okay.
Okay, so then you won with 50% votes, which is nearly twice as much as your next rival, your closest rival. And you became the first Korean descendant who became a mayor in the United States.
I knew how proud my mom would be.
Did you know what it says of truth? Of nationality, we are Americans and proud Americans. But of ethnicity and of heart, we are from our home country. And my home country is Korea.
And then I realized you have a responsibility, Harry, also to the Koreans in Korea. You represent them. Likewise, if you become something they're ashamed of, they would be ashamed too.
Going back to your childhood, what's your fondest memory?
A little boy named Harry Kim run into the store and says, Mr. Akiyama, or Mr. Suzuki, the brown store. Hey, oh, Kim boy. And they give us a daily loaf of bread, and I'd carry it home. Never asked us for money. Everybody charged, there's a term. And you pay when you can, amount you could. Not me, the parents, obviously. I told Eddie, the son of Mr. Suzuki, when they told me of the service, how much joy his father gave me by his smile, of his goodness to me.
Kindness.
Pure kindness. No judgmental of any kind.
Right. One of the most respected poets in Korea, whose name is Kim Yong-taek, he once told me that there's just like a certain beauty that can be only nurtured from growing up, not wealthy, poor. That's not replaceable.
Whoever said it, it takes a village, must have been poor, right? When that poet you talk about, I never thought about it. You had to be, but it's an absolute, you have to be. Because when you raise like that, it is of those things of your question that you would never feel if you were not of hardship.
I just told this to my wife yesterday when we were going up the hill where we used to live in Hilo when we first moved. I was 19. And there was this man that was sitting on his porch. He goes, I didn't know who he was. I found out later his name is Mr. Yagi, head of the tax office. Always waved to me. I'm 19, just that wave. And I just felt so good. I've told many people that when I graduated from school, high school, there's no parties. I walked home from the main road and slaughterhouse at that time, as we call it, was working, and one man said, "Hey, Kimbo, what you doing at so late in the night, you know?" I said, "Oh, I just graduated tonight, so I'm going home." And he said, "Congratulations." I've told many people this. To this day, that's only one person that said to me, "Congratulations." Today, nobody would believe a story like that. Those are the things only when years pass, when you answer a question like yours, of what made you feel good, what happy and things like that. Small things like the best slingshot stick. Like from this. Picking the sweetest guava, who could climb the coconut tree the fastest. Everything, you know, of those things. You appreciate it. You felt good about it. And maybe that's what's wrong today. Huh? If you make materialism and money your goal in life, I think you will find a very, very empty and lonesome road at the end of the road. And I know within me that it's of truth. But you spend time just to make things better for others, not for you, but for others, and yours as well. It's going to be a very comforting end at the end of the road, because you'll be surrounded with good feelings.
Going through articles on you before I met you, there are people commented, about you online, and there was one saying that I really liked. You want to hear what that was? Someone says that Harry Kim is an embodiment of the Aloha spirit. How beautiful is that?
How beautiful is that?
That's the biggest compliment you can get, don't you think?
Oh yeah, it's like, in part, when they gave me that picture with all those writings, I'm telling you, it's the kind of things that $1 billion times 100 can never even touch. The biggest dream I have is, I think, what my parents had, and I just carried it on, that there will be one Korea. I think of that all the time. And I pray that that day will come.
What they gave me was the incentive to be good. You try to be your best. You never give up, no matter what the competition is. You give it your all.
That's what made the first Korean American Chief Justice in history, I guess.
Yes, yes.
오아후 섬은 하와이 정치, 경제, 문화의 중심지입니다. 하와이 주요 섬 중 인구도 여행자 수도 가장 많습니다. 오아후를 찾는 여행자들의 발길은 보통 와이키키를 향하는데요. 세계 최고의 휴양지이기 때문이죠. 물론 좀 더 모험심이 있는 여행자들은 와이키키를 벗어나 오아후의 숨은 아름다움을 찾아 나서기도 합니다. 하지만 외진 동네 와히아와를 일부러 찾는 이들은 별로 없습니다. 1920년대 와히아와는 수백여 명의 한국인이 모여 살던 이른바 한인타운이었습니다. 당시 태평양 연안에서 가장 큰 군부대가 이곳에 있어서 와히아와의 한인들은 이들 군인들을 상대로 세탁소나 수선점 같은 가게를 운영했는데요. 1세대 한인 이민자인 문정원 씨도 그중 한 명으로 사탕수수 노동자 계약이 끝나고 그는 곧 와히아와에 자그마한 양복점을 차렸습니다. 100여 년 전 바로 이 양복점 2층에서 문정원 씨와 그의 부인은 아들을 낳아 키웠습니다. 그리고 그 아들의 아들은 장차 하와이 그리고 미주 최초이자 유일한 한국인 대법원장이 됩니다. 1990년 49의 나이에 대법관에 임명되고 3년 만에 대법원장직에 오른 이래 이른해 정년 퇴임할 때까지 하와이 사법부에서 활약한 문대양 전 대법원장의 업적을 기려 하와이 주정부는 2010년에 신축된 한 지방법원 청사의 이름을 로널드 문 법원으로 명명했습니다. 문 전 대법원장과 함께 15년 가까이 일한 마크 렉터널드 하와이 주 대법원장은 문대양 전 대법원장을 이렇게 기억합니다.
He was somebody who really cared passionately about access to justice, so he wanted the courts to be accessible to everyone and really just energized our efforts to reach out to the community, get lawyers to volunteer, get folks to contribute to support legal services so people who can't afford a lawyer in a civil case have their voices heard in court.
My name is Ronald Moon and was raised in Waihawa. I believe that the most important thing in life is the contribution to the society.
Over the past few years, I've seen you on a podium always giving speeches on various functions. And today I'm able to have a talk with you. That's really an honor for me. The first Korean American Chief Justice in history, what did it mean to you?
Well, what it meant to me was I tried my best, I did my best, and I was appointed Hawaii's Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, which made me individually proud, but hopefully I believe that the Koreans would be as proud.
Can you tell us about the first generation of Koreans of your family?
Yeah, the first generations were my grandparents on both sides. My grandfathers left Korea for a destination unknown at that time, but ended up in Hawaii in August of 1903.
1903. Oh, they're one of the earliest people who came then.
So both my grandfathers came to Hawaii, not knowing each other.
I see. When they first came, they worked as a plantation worker. Do you know?
Yes, they did. My father's side worked in Honoka'a, like I said, in the plantations, and then moved to Oahu and settled in the Waihawa area and worked in the fields. My grandfather was here, and he had said that he would be making a livelihood for himself and for his bride and the family when he brought them over. And it took him about 19 years to come over.
So they were married already in Korea.
Yeah.
And then he came here by himself first.
And he had an older daughter, and then he had my daughter, my mother, when he got here.
Oh, I see. Oh, that's amazing.
Impregnated my
Already daughter, yeah. Oh, that's a great story. Can you tell us about your grandmother? You spent a lot of time with her.
Well, she raised me because my mom was very busy helping my father at the store that they had. They had a store, Duke's in Wahewa, and so she raised me or helped raise me, and I could speak Korean very well at that time.
Oh.
But I lost it.
Until what age?
I think I spoke Korean during the adolescent years of my life.
Oh, wow.
And then lost it because I never used it.
How was she? Was she strict or was she loving, or what do you remember about her?
She was very protective, and she was very caring and very affectionate, very protective. My father was strict, and it blossomed, I think, and it was contagious and got to my mother, and so she was very strict with us. And so she used to try to spank us at times when we were out of hand, and my grandmother would step in and protect us.
That's sweet.
Physically.
Yeah. Hit me instead of runner, right? Something like that. Oh, that's sweet. And how did they do the tailor shop?
My grandfather, on my father's side, he was a tailor, and he owned a tailor shop.
He was a tailor even before he came to Hawaii, or do you know?
It seems so.
It seems so. He was good with his hands, all that.
Well, he was good with the machine that they had. They had an old Singer machine that came from, he's from North Korea. And he and his brothers escaped to South Korea way back when, I'm not sure when, but he actually carried the Singer sewing machine. My father inherited the tailor shop on California Avenue. Oh my goodness. That's when my sister, my youngest brother Duke, Junior, Eric, Marilee, my sister, and me.
Oh, everyone is good looking. Seriously, it's a little Korean drama family character. Do you know if he was involved with any Korean organization?
Yeah, my father was very involved with the church. The church was the headquarters for collecting clothing and food products to send to Korea. Yeah, and they were always fighting for their independence as well.
So it was not just a religious, group of people.
No, the church was very central to the Koreans' activities in fighting for independence, sending goods to Korea to help the situation there. This was founded in 1919 by a group of Koreans led by Dr. Sigmund Rhee. Now, before I sit down, I would like to lead you in a cheer that I learned in August of 1945 when the church, the old church on Leeward Street, gathered together after the Second World War in August of 1948. And I was 5 years old at the time, and I heard for the first time that I can recall what I believe is a national cheer, which is "What say?" The fondest memory I have is every weekend my father would drive around the islands.
Ron's dad, Duke, would actually come and pick us up. You know, he would come down the street, drive and pick us up in the evening and bring us to church. He would take us even into Honolulu in Smitty's laundry truck. And the bad boys would, every time we made a turn, they would jump on us and scramble us up in the back seat of the truck. So we had a lot of fun in those days. You remember, Ronald?
Yeah. Our friends started from this church. I mean, we remain friends all these years. Even if we don't see each other, we feel like we've never missed a day. And our parents were friends. Our generation are friends, and hopefully our children will continue to be friends.
My father was a very gifted, and he gave a lot to the church and to the community. His door was always open to the store where they would come in and he would translate letters or notices from the government or, you know.
So he was already doing the free legal service.
Yes, he was.
He was really a leader and made Hawaii a national leader in having a vibrant program of court interpreters who could interpret for the court and for participants who weren't English speakers as their first language. Huge contribution. Again, really reflects, I think, him never forgetting his roots, him always understanding what it meant, you know, to be somebody who might be on the outside looking in and wanting to have everybody be part of who we are, everyone to feel valued, everyone to have their voice heard.
Looking back 30 plus years of, you know, your service as a judge, what are the most memorable moments you have?
I think I got Koreans to understand that the law is the law, and the law is for everybody. It's just not for them and not for others. One case that really reminds me, it was the temple that went up in the Palolo area.
The 무량사.
And there was an ordinance at that time that the level was supposed to be so high, and yet they went higher with the temple. And we had to force them to cut it down at their cost and expense, which hurt. I think Koreans learned at that time that, you know, just because they had a Korean judge or a justice or whatever at the time, that they would have special treatment, but they didn't. They learned that the law was the law for everyone.
But there's one saying that I will always remember from your speech. Public service is a rent one pays for the space he or she occupies here on earth.
You know, my father's position was that public service is the rent that you pay for occupying space here on earth. And he paid a lot of rent.
And let me also ask you, I see so many news these days about anti-Asian hate crime. What do you think we should do to try to mend this?
The way you remedy any crime is to prosecute that offense. You have to apply the law evenly. It's not this is anti-Asian and so you give them a break.
Oh, I see.
You have to apply it evenly.
And what's the one thing that you hope others will remember about you?
I hope they remember me by following the law, you know, that I followed the law and I made people follow the law.
What did you learn from your father or your grandfather or your grandmother that you want to pass on to the next generation?
What they gave me was the incentive to be good. You try to be your best. You never give up, no matter what the competition is. You give it your all.
That's what made the first Korean American Chief Justice in history, I guess.
Yes, yes.
What is your biggest fear in life?
The biggest fear is to live your life and not contribute. I feel that way. You have to contribute something to your society that you live in.
You know, one thing I think is really important about Chief Justice Moon is his role as a mentor to people. So he took a very active role in helping folks who had just become judges or new lawyers understand what it meant to be a professional, understand what it takes to excel in the profession, and to have integrity and honor in how they approach their profession. And he did that for me. And so, you know, to me, he's been somebody I've looked up to since I first began serving in the judiciary in 2007. And then since I become Chief Justice, he's just been, you know, an invaluable source of support, of guidance and encouragement.
If you live your life and you live, you cannot point to anything that you left behind. That is so sad. That's what I mean about leaving something. You gotta live your life.
세계 한국학 연구의 메카, 하와이 대학 한국학 연구소에 가는 길은 언제나 즐겁습니다. 건물에서부터 한국적인 정취가 물씬 느껴져서일까요? 바라만 봐도 좋은 이곳에서 오늘은 특별한 손님을 만나기로 했습니다. 아름다운 선율로 소통하는 음악가 마이클 림은 조금 남다른 증조 할아버지 할머니를 가졌습니다. 26의 나이에 하와이로 이민와 이른해 세상을 떠날 때까지 고국의 독립운동과 하와이 한인 이민자들의 권익 신장에 모든 것을 바친 안원규, 그리고 남편 못지않은 용기와 기계가 넘쳤던 여성 리더 안정송. 하와이 이민사는 물론이고 대한민국의 독립운동 역사에 큰 발자취를 남기고 떠난 독립운동가 부부의 4대 손 마이클 림을 함께 만나보시죠.
My name is Michael Lim. I play violin with the Hawaii Symphony Orchestra. I also teach music in middle school and high school. And my passion in life is music. It's everything that I do with my job and everything that I do with my life. I'm kind of an introverted person, so music is really a way that I can express a lot of the things I feel inside. I don't like to talk so much. I'm actually very quiet. But music is a way that I can get those emotions out and make something beautiful and say things that I don't necessarily have to say actual words, but I can convey emotions and feelings and hopefully make other people feel emotions as well.
That's great. I guess that's how a lot of artists feel like they express their way of thinking through their works.
Yes.
That's great. When did you start violin?
I started violin at age 7. I had already been playing piano since age of 4. At the time I started violin, I was much better at the piano because I'd been playing for 3 years. But as I continued to play the violin, I found that I could express myself better on the violin.
Not just violin, but you play viola, you rearrange music, and you compose music as well. How did you get into those composing and rearranging part?
I think my piano background really had a big influence on the composing and the arranging, because with the piano I really understand the chords and how music is laid out. And my dad was always into just like improvising on the piano, and so I kind of learned that from him as well. And composing, I've always been kind of tinkering with things, writing songs here and there. I actually wrote our graduation song for my high school graduation, and ever since then I've been writing more and more. music on my own. During kind of the pandemic era and a little bit before, I was trying to write a full musical, so based on A Midsummer Night's Dream by Shakespeare. And so I took the text and kind of rearranged it into modern English and wrote the lyrics out in song format. And I composed, I don't know, 20, 25-ish musical numbers that would transform it into a musical setting.
Oh,
So,
that's awesome. How far is it now?
I have all the songs done. It just needs to, I would need to arrange the music so that a pit band could play it for a performance, and also we need to like modify the text a little bit so that it could be performed on stage, but it's getting closer.
Oh, that's awesome. I look forward to seeing it. Back in 2003, we were celebrating the Korean immigrant histories in Hawaii, and the Centennial Committee was selecting 27 notable Koreans, and three of the entire Korean communities from the first generations of Korean were from your family. You're aware of it.
Yes.
Can you introduce who they were?
So these are both on my father's side. My father's mother, her parents were Wan Kyu-an and Chung Son-an. And Wan Kyu-an was, he came to Hawaii to work on the plantations, and he became a successful businessman, and he did a lot of work to help found the Korean National Association.
Right?
Yes, and did a lot of work towards Korean independence during the wartime, and helped a lot of the Korean immigrants that came to Hawaii. And his wife, Lee Chung-song, who was later An Chung-song, she also did a lot of work for the Korean community in Hawaii, both as a teacher and just, yeah, she helped out the Korean community a lot. And then there's Im Chun-ho, who is my father's grandfather on his father's side. And he originally came to work in the plantations, but he was a pastor, and he was really instrumental in helping the Korean communities, especially fighting for those people who worked on the plantations and getting them, fair working conditions and helping them to succeed in their work in Hawaii.
That's awesome. It is very special to have three people all in your family tree that were helping Korean community here so much, and then also supporting the Korean independent movement in Korea. How did it affect you personally? Did it affect you personally in your life to have ancestors like that?
Yeah, well, my grandparents didn't really talk about it that much. So I guess the first time I really learned about Mr. An, I was in around middle school age, I think, and we had a ceremony here at the Center for Korean Studies at the University of Hawaii, and a lot of my family members came to honor him, and he passed away in 1947, so a lot of my family had never met him, but it was just amazing to see all the work that he had done during his lifetime, and I think a lot of my family didn't really know about it, and so as a young boy, it was inspiring for me to hear about all the things he did to help people, to help the immigrants, to help his country back home. And I thought that I would also like to, help people in some way, maybe not to that grand of a scale. I think he did so much work, but I also wanted to help others in the way that he helped. My great aunt, Lizzie, she wrote a book. She was Mr. An's daughter, his youngest daughter. And so she wrote a book about her childhood in Hawaii. And so in that book, she accounts a lot of stories about how Mr. An helped certain people throughout his life. And I guess one of those was he gave somebody $50 to take a ticket to California and start his life. And that person was so grateful. He, became a more mature man in California, returned to the islands, and was coaching a team with the YMCA. And he was so happy that Mr. An donated uniforms to the team because he said, you know, they had such a sense of pride with the team to have those new uniforms made just for them, and it just boosted the morale of the team.
What about you being a musician? Was there any influence by your great-grandparents or anybody in your family member?
Well, his Mr. An's wife, Chung Song, when she first negotiated her terms of marriage to come down, she wanted a teaching position and she wanted a piano. So, yeah, she was obviously a well-educated musician herself. And in the book that I read, she would give her daughters music lessons every day. They would have to practice the piano, and so she would teach them music. And my grandmother's oldest sister, the oldest daughter, her name was Florence. She apparently had a really beautiful voice, and I think she was the first, at least Asian American woman to go to Juilliard to study voice and operatic singing ever. So when I heard that, that was so inspiring for me as a musician to think that, you know, my family has made history in one of the, you know, top music schools in the country.
I wanted to share this, what Florence Ann wrote about her education. My parents both said to us, you must study hard, finish college, and go back to Korea to teach and help Korea. That is what we all went to school for, I guess. Did you know that she was feeling that way?
No, I didn't know that before, but I guess it goes along with what they always believed in was, you know, to get a good education and study hard and become educated yourself, and then to go and help others, to help Korea.
That's amazing, yeah. Not just thinking about their own child's future, but also we're thinking about Korea, even though they were living so far away.
Yes.
Yeah. And descendants of Mr. and Mrs. An went into various spheres of society, not just the music, as you know. Karen An was a judge of state of Hawaii, and the person who wrote that book that you let me borrow, what was her name?
Her name is Elizabeth An Tupin.
Yeah, and she was the first Asian American to be a dean of the Tufts University in Boston.
Yes, I think so, yes.
Yeah, I guess it seems like education was a really big part in their family.
Oh yes, I think it was always emphasized both in their generation, and then they pass it on to their children as well.
Yeah, and as a father of 20 months old little girl, what do you wish for her?
Well, I hope that, you know, she becomes a good moral citizen of the world. I also hope that she's happy in whatever she chooses to do with her life, and also the people that she meets in her life. I think Mr. An really found that true wealth lies in helping others and to share that wealth with other people. And it kind of reminds me of a song that we used to sing in elementary school. Love is something, if you give it away, you end up having more. And it goes on to say, like, it's just like a magic penny. If you hold it tight, you don't have any, but if you lend it, spend it, you'll have so many that they roll all over the floor. And I think Mr. An really embodied this throughout his entire life. He was a very successful businessman, very wealthy, and I guess he could have used that wealth just for his own personal gain and for his own family, but he was committed to sharing that with the Korean community in Hawaii and with his country back home, donating, you know, large portions of his plantation and just getting people good starts to their careers and helping them get off the plantations into their own businesses. And I hope Rena, you know, will embody some of that philosophy in her life to not only be successful yourself, but to help others. And maybe if we could all be a little bit more like Mr. An, the world would be a much better place.
We have a special guest today. Can you please introduce her?
Yes, this is my wife, Nam Yusan. She's born and raised in Seoul, Korea. And we met when we were both studying violin at Indiana University. She's a doctor of music, which she received from Eastman School of Music, and now she plays in the Hawaii Symphony Orchestra as a violinist and also teaches violin lessons.
네, 유선 씨 오늘 자리해 주셔서 감사합니다. 맨날 무대에 계신 것만 보다가 옆에서 이렇게 얘기하니까 더 반갑네요. 제가 듣기로 한국에서 서울대 음대 재학 중에 1학기 때 이제 인디아나 대학으로 유학 갔다가 마이클 만나셨다고 들었어요. 어떻게 만나시게 된 거예요?
이제 대학교 2학년 때부터 콜텟을 같이 했어요. 이렇게 콜텟 연습을 이렇게 거의 매일 하다 보고 이러다 보니까 가까워지게 됐는데요. 그렇게 2년 동안 콜텟을 하다가 이렇게 만나게 됐어요. 굉장히 이렇게 정직하고 그리고 또 그런 배려심 많은 모습에 끌렸던 것 같아요.
그리고 오늘 그 마이클이 편곡 직접 한 고향의 봄 같이 연주해 주기로 하셨는데 어떤 마음으로 연주하실 건지 한 말씀 부탁드려요.
저도 이렇게 100여 년 전에 하와이에 오셔서 정착하신 한인 이민 1세대 분들 정말 후손들에게 더 나은 미래를 물려주려고 애쓰셨던 그분들의 뜻 생각하면서 또 고국 땅을 얼마나 그리워하셨을지 또 그 마음 생각하면서 연주하려고 합니다.
So I did an arrangement of a violin and viola duet of 고향의 봄. I hope to dedicate this piece to not only my great-grandparents, but to all the Korean immigrants who came and worked so hard so that we could have the lives that we have here today in Hawaii.
우리 젊은 사람들한테 얘기해주고 싶은 거는 꿈을 가지고 열심히 하면 못할 게 없으니까 dream big and go for it.
지금 저는 무지개 나라의 유산이 시작된 곳을 향해 가고 있습니다. 무지개 나라의 유산 마지막 이야기는 하와이가 아닌 다른 곳에서 시작합니다.
국제공항에 도착했습니다. 비행기가 완전히 멈춘 후 좌석 벨트 표시등이 꺼질 때까지 자리에 앉아서 기다려주십시오.
한국 땅을 밟자마자 120여 년 전 우리 선조들의 흔적을 찾아가 봤습니다. 인천, 그중에서도 제물포항은 우리나라에서 서양 문물의 세례를 가장 먼저 받은 곳인데요. 월미공원 전망대에 올라 과거 제물포항이 있던 자리를 가늠해 봅니다. 하와이 한인 이민사, 나아가 미주 이민사가 바로 이곳에서 시작됐습니다. 당시 하와이라는 낯설고도 먼 땅을 향해 떠난 이들은 총 121명으로 이 중 86명은 제물포와 부평, 강화 등 지금의 인천 출신이었다고 하는데요. 작은 포구 도시에 지나지 않던 인천은 그로부터 한 세기 만에 세계적인 국제 도시로 부상했습니다. 동북아권의 허브공항, 1급수 바닷물이 흐르는 도심 속 공원, 그리고 우리나라 최초의 차이나타운도 인천의 자랑입니다. 그리고 또 하나 인천을 대표하는 명문 사학이 있는데요. 인천의 인, 그리고 하와이의 하, 바로 인하대학교입니다. 이승만 박사가 1900년대 초반 하와이에 설립하고 운영했던 한인 기독학원 부지를 처분한 돈에 하와이 교민들의 성금, 여기에 인천시와 민간 기부금이 더해져 1954년 인하공과대학이 설립됐습니다. 이런 특별한 인연을 계기로 인천시와 호놀룰루시는 미주 한인 이민 100주년을 맞아 자매 도시 결연을 체결했습니다. 그리고 5년 후인 지난 2008년 인천에 특별한 공간이 문을 열었습니다. 우리나라의 시대별 이민사를 살펴볼 수 있는 이 박물관에서는 하와이는 물론이고 미국 본토와 중국, 러시아 등지로도 뻗어나간 한인 디아스포라의 발자취를 찾아볼 수 있는데요. 전시관을 둘러보는 마음이 사뭇 남다른 이가 있습니다.
My grandparents, 이근 침 and 한범순 second son is my father, Edward Waigi Lee, and my mother is 서순 Hee, and I am their big daughter. I was born in 함경도 and grew up in Hawaii.
1904년 함흥에서 하와이로 떠난 한인 이민 1세 할아버지, 할머니를 둔 그녀가 바로 무지개 나라의 유산 마지막 편의 주인공입니다. 데이지양 전 고려대 영문과 객원 부교수는 조선시대를 배경으로 한 소설을 썼고 남편인 양성철 전 주미대사와 함께 지난 2018년 하와이 대학교 한국학연구소에 거액의 기부 약정을 체결했습니다.
네, 데이지양 교수님 오늘 함께 해주셔서 감사합니다. 제가 하와이에서 교수님 뵙고 싶어서 왔어요.
반갑습니다.
네, 반갑습니다. 오늘 이렇게 하와이 이민사가 시작된 곳 인천에서 교수님 뵙게 돼서 더 반갑습니다. 먼저 이민 1세인 교수님의 할아버님 얘기 듣고 싶어요. 1904년도에 어떻게 하와이에 가게 되셨는지 아시나요?
우리 할아버지께서는 그 3대로 내려오는 외아드님이셨어요. 그래서 어머니께서 점쟁이를 찾아가셔가지고 우리 아들이 어떻게 하면 아들을 많이 놓을 수 있습니까? 그렇게 물어봤더니 점쟁이가 그랬대요. 아드님이 아들을 많이 가지시려면 이름을 바꾸시고 멀리 떠나셔야 됩니다. 근데 때마침 그때 하와이의 그 Sugar Plantations Association에서 일꾼을 찾는다는 그런 소식을 듣고 우리 할아버지께서 하와이로 가시기로 결정하셨대요.
그 옛날에 그죠?
예.
파이오니어십이
네, 대단하시죠. 네. 1904년에 고베에 가셔가지고 거기에서 SS 차이나라는 배를 타시고 1904년 7월 6일에 배를 탔는데 7월 8일에 호놀룰루에 도착했대요. 그래가지고는 거기에 유니언 밀이라는 그 사탕수수 농장에서 한 15년 동안 일을 하셨대요.
빅아일랜드에서.
네, 빅아일랜드에서.
그다음에 호놀룰루 오셨다고 들었어요.
네, 호놀룰루에는 1915년에 가족을 다 데리고 왔어요. 우리 할머니께서요, 고할라에서 아들 4딸 셋을 낳으셨어요. 농장에서 일을 하시면서요. 또 거기에서 또 총각들의 옷도 빨아주시고, 그리고 또 뭐 음식도 만드셔서 파셨대요. 그러시면서도 7명을 낳으셨어요. 네.
그러면 호놀룰루로 이주를 하신 다음에 또 거기서 여생을 보내신 게 아니라 고향으로 돌아오셨다는 말씀 들었어요.
네. 우리 할머니께서 1924년에 막내 그 아들 앙클 잔을 낳으셨거든요. 바로 그 해에 다시 함흥으로 돌아가시기로 하셨어요. 왜냐하면 할아버지께서 세상을 떠나기 전에 자기 고향을 다시 한번 보고 싶다고. 그래서 6남매를 데리고 갔어요.
그러니까 처음에 이제 성인이 되어서 하와이에 왔다가 그때는 아마 이제 오래 살려고 오셨을 텐데 15년 정도를 보내신 다음에 다시 고향이 그리워지셔서 다시 그러면 그 모험을 감행하고 함흥으로 돌아가신 거잖아요, 그죠?
그렇죠. 네.
그때만 해도 이렇게 오가는 게 지금처럼 쉽지 않았잖아요. 그러니까 엄청난 일이었을 텐데.
맞죠. 왜냐하면 우리 아버지께서 말씀하시는데 아버지께서 1930년에 다시 그 하와이로 가셨는데 3개월 걸렸답니다. 우리 그 할아버지 할머니께서는요, 교회를 열심히 나가셨대요. 성공회 교회에는요, godmother이라는 게 있거든요. 다 한국에서 오신 픽처 브라이드였어요. 네, 사진만 보고 자기 남편하고 결혼하러 왔는데 할머니가 그러시는데, 아이 사진하고 다르네.
실제로 그렇게 말씀하셨어요?
네, 왜냐하면 15년 전에 찍은 사진을 보냈거든요. 그러니까 15년이 더 늙었으니까는 그렇게 말씀하실 수밖에 없었겠죠.
그런 사진 신부로 오셨던 할머님들은 어떻게 생활을 하셨어요? 기억나시나요?
할머니들은요, 첫째는 외로우시니까 교회 생활을 많이 하셨어요. 그리고 또 교회 일을 엄청 많이 하셨고요. 그리고 또 교회에서 음식 같은 거를 만들어가지고 파셔가지고 돈을 모아서 또 독립운동에다 기부도 하고.
사진 신부로 오셨던 분들도 독립운동에 많이
그분들은 아마 그 하와이에서 자금 같은 거를 모아가지고 한국에다 보내고 그러셨어요.
그럼 교수님은 어떻게 하와이와 인연이 되신 거예요?
함흥에서 태어나가지고 일본에 가서 한 5년쯤 살다가 그리고 1958년에 하와이로 갔습니다. 너무 꽃향기가 좋았고 그리고 꽃이 활발하게 펴 있었고 그 하늘이 그냥 새파랬어요. 그리고 또 제일 신기한 거는 여러 나라 사람들이 살아 있었기 때문에 굉장히 놀랐어요. 왜냐하면 저는 일본하고 한국에서 살았기 때문에 다 일본하고 한국 사람이잖아요. 근데 하와이는 하와이인도 있고 차이니스도 있고 뭐 하와이도 있고.
그때 이미 다문화
그렇죠.
사회였죠.
그렇죠.
이민 그러니까 노동 이민자들도 많고 그랬으니까요, 그죠?
그렇죠.
되게 중요한 시기잖아요. 사춘기 때부터 대학교 때까지 하와이에서 보내신 건데 그때 얘기 좀 해주세요.
하와이에서는요, 우리가 첫째는 적응하기가 참 힘들었고, 둘째는 우리 아버님께서 일본에서 좋은 직장을 가지셨다가 하와이 가서는 일자리를 구하기가 어려워서 굉장히 힘든 일을 하셨어요. 그리고 저의 어머니도 그러셨고요. 사실 저의 어머니는 함흥에 굉장히 유명한 그 한의사의 따님이셨는데 하와이 가서는 뭐 란드리에서도 일을 하셨고 그리고 인터내셔널 듀티 프리 샵에서도 일을 하셨고 그래서 고생을 많이 하셨어요. 그리고 우리는 주로 학교를 다녔죠. 15살이었으니까 저는 중학교하고 고등학교하고 대학을 하와이에서 다녔거든요. 저는 그 중학교를 끝나고 맥켄리 하이스쿨을 갔는데요. 거기에서 정말 친한 친구들을 많이 사귀었고요. 그리고 우리는 책벌레였어요. 그래서 주말마다 도서관에 가가지고 책을 골라서 읽었고요. 또 우리 아버님께서는 항상 책을 읽으셨어요. 그래서 네, 어렸을 때부터 아버님께서 책과 매거진을 읽는 거를 봐가지고 아마 그것 때문에 제가 책을 좋아하는 것 같습니다.
네, 교수님, 근데 미국에서는 이렇게 학생들이 아르바이트 많이 하잖아요. 고등학교 때부터. 네. 교수님도 그러면 돈 버는 일도 하셨어요? 아니면 정말로 이렇게 책만 읽으셨어요?
아니에요. 제가요, 맥켄리 하이스쿨에서 제일 친한 친구가 루이스 마츠시게라고 있는데요. 그 친구도 물론 책벌레였고 노 파인애플 컴퍼니에 우리 둘이 같이 가서 일하면서 대학에 들어가는 그 학비를 마련하자고 그래가지고 거기에서 일을 하기로 됐는데 밤 11시부터 7시, 아침 7시부터 하는 거예요. 시간당 5센트로 더 줬거든요. 근데 5센트가요, 그때는 큰 돈이었어요. 빵 하나,
5센트?
네, 살 수 있거든요. 코카콜라 한 병도 살 수 있고.
아버님이 이제 꼭 대학을 갔으면 좋겠다고 하셨었어요?
네, 네. 우리 아버님은요, 참 스마트한 분이셨는데, 하와이를 갔다 왔다 했기 때문에 기회를 놓치셔서 고등학교도 못 졸업하셨어요. 그래서 우리한테 항상 하신 말씀이 공부는 많이 할수록 좋고, 돈은 있다가도 없어지는데 공부는 아무도 뺏어갈 사람이 없다. 그러니까 공부는 많이 해두라. 한국학 공부를 하기로 결정을 했는데 막상 공부를 하러 갔더니 그때만 해도 한국에 책들이 하나도 없었어요. 번역한 책들이 특히 하나도 없었거든요. 그래서 제가 그때 마음 먹었어요. 내가 꼭 언젠가는 영어로 책을 써서 하와이 대학의 그 도서관에 갖다 기증하겠다.
대학교 때 그렇게 마음 먹으신 거예요?
네, 그래서 그렇게 마음을 먹었는데 70이 넘어가지고 그거를 실천했어요.
네. 그 실천하신 책이 바로
네.
이 금강산의 보라 부인이라는 책이에요, 교수님, 그죠?
네.
아니 50년 걸렸지만 이렇게 좋은 책을 쓰셨으니 너무 보람된 일인 거죠, 그죠, 교수님? 이 책 얘기 좀 해주세요.
사실은 홍길동 전을 맨 처음에 번역을 했어요. 참 좀 재미가 없어가지고 우연히 박씨 부인전이라는 책을 봤는데 너무 재미있어서 제가 펄펄 떴어요. 그래가지고는 그거를 배경으로 이 Lady Boar from Diamond Mountain을 썼거든요.
근데 박씨 부인전에 어떤 점이 그렇게 가슴을 설레게 하셨어요?
그 우리나라에도 이렇게 재미있고 훌륭한 여걸이 있다는 거를 좋다고 생각했어요. 그래서 외국에서 사는 교포들이랑 그런 사람들한테 우리 문화도 이렇게 좋은 게 있다고 소개를 하고 싶어서 재미있게 소설로 읽어보라고 쓴 겁니다.
네. 이런 한국의 전통이나 어떤 풍습,
네.
저도 사실 몰랐던 부분들이 많이 녹아 있어가지고 미국에 사는 아이들뿐만 아니라 한국에 있는 친구들도 읽으면 우리나라 문화에 대해서 많이 알 수 있는 좋은 기회이지 않을까 하는 생각을 했습니다.
그랬으면 좋겠습니다.
네. 처음 만나셨을 때 느낌이 어떠셨어요?
처음 만났을 때는 솔직히 얘기해서 별 관심이 없었어요. 그랬는데 두 번째 만나면서 이제 우리 뭐라고 할까 제 마음을 먹었다고 할까 그런 거죠. 기왕이면 뉴욕에 가자 해가지고 콜롬비아에 갔는데 그 있는 동안에 우리 집사람이 거의 일주일에 한 번 늦을 때는 편지가 와요. 그래서 내가 감복을 했죠. 그래서 감복했죠. 우리 집사람은 또 딴 얘기 하는지 모르겠네요.
보통 밤 9시부터 새벽 2시까지 글을 썼어요. 네, 시간이 없거든요. 저는 행복했어요, 글 쓰면서.
좋아요. 어떤 마음인지 알 것 같아요.
그래서 사실 이 책을 쓰면서 우리 그 문화의 대단성을 제가 느끼고 있었는데 특히 생각이 나는 거는 김구 선생님이 하신 말씀이신데 한없이 가지고 싶은 것은 높은 문화의 힘이다. 문화의 힘은 우리 자신을 기뻐하게 하고 남에게도 기쁨을 준다. 그게 얼마나 멋있는 얘기입니까? 우리가 얼마나 세계에 기쁨을 많이 주고 있습니까?
맞는 말씀입니다. 감사합니다. 네, 교수님은 한국에서 태어나셨지만 일본 그리고 켄터키, DC 그리고 하와이까지 굉장히 여러 군데서 사셨는데요. 지금 삶을 이렇게 되돌아 보실 때 유난히 기억에 남는 어떤 시간이나 장소가 있을까요?
저는 한국의 변화가 굉장히 크고 요새는 정말 한국이 너무 살기 좋은 나라가 됐다고 생각해요. 우리 한국 문화가 지금 많이 세계로 퍼져나가고 있어요. 지금 한국 문화가 이렇게 세계적으로 퍼져나가 있는 데는 하와이에 이민 가신 저 할아버지라든가 딴 이민자들의 공이 너무 크다고 생각해요. 왜냐하면 하와이의 음식이라든가 문화라든가 아트라든가 할머니 할아버지들이 하와이에 가지고 가신 공 중에 하나라고 생각하거든요. 그리고 참 고맙게 생각하거든요. 지금 우리나라 문화가 이렇게 세계적으로 호응을 받고 있다는 게 너무나 자랑스럽습니다. 네.
우리 젊은 세대들한테 제가 하고 싶은 얘기는 좀 꿈이 커라. 지금은 뭐 우주만이 아니라 달나라만이 아니라 지금은 뭐 이제 대우주까지 올라가는 세상에 산단 말이에요. 우리가 생각했던 영토 개념하고 젊은이들이 생각하는 영토 개념이 달라져 버렸어요.
우리 젊은 사람들한테 얘기해주고 싶은 거는 꿈을 가지고 인내심을 가지고 그리고 나가야 된다고 생각합니다. 그리고 자기가 마음을 먹으면 젊은 사람들은 정말 못할 게 없어요. 열심히 하면 못할 게 없으니까 dream big and go for it.
좋습니다. 감사합니다. 교수님, 끝으로 제가 이 교수님이 쓰신 책 읽으면서 되게 개인적으로도 그렇고 다른 사람들이랑 나누고 싶었던 구절이 하나 있어요. 읽어드려도 될까요?
네.
이 금강산 보라 부인이 결혼을 해서 떠날 때 그러니까 그 아버지가, 친정 아버지가 보라 부인에게 이제 앞으로 힘내서 잘 살아라 이런 이제 덕담을 해주시는 부분이에요. 고통이 도무지 견딜 수 없는 거라면 내 어미에게 도움을 빌어라. 내 어미는 자신의 목숨을 버리면서까지 너를 낳았다. 어미의 사랑이 내 가슴 속에 늘 있음을 명심해야 한다. 사랑이 모든 해악으로부터 너를 보호할 것이니 어미의 희생을 생각하며 힘을 내고 용기를 갖도록 해야 한다. 그리고 남은 이야기가 있습니다. 지금 저는 이번 여정의 마지막 장소로 향합니다. 인천시 중구 내동 29번지. 한국 최초의 감리교회인 이곳에서 반가운 사진을 만났습니다. 무지개 나라의 유산을 시작하게 해준 바로 그 사진입니다. 지금으로부터 120여 년 전, 당시 이 교회의 존스 목사는 신자들에게 하와이 이민을 권했습니다. 조상의 땅을 떠난다는 죄책감, 새로운 미래에 대한 설렘과 두려움. 복잡한 심경을 안고 그들은 이 자리에 섰을 겁니다. 그리고 그들의 선택은 수없이 많은 삶을, 또 수없이 많은 이야기들을 만들어냈습니다. 지난 2년 무지개 나라의 유산을 통해 만난 그들의 용기와 지혜를 되새겨 봅니다. 그리고 우리에게 다가올 미래, 삶이라는 거친 바다에서 때로 비바람이 불고 어둠이 내리더라도 사랑과 희망을 길어낼 수 있기를 바라봅니다. 120여 년 전 우리 선조들이 그랬던 것처럼.